those are some civil reasons that those are basic standards we would all expect from our man. You know, somebody busting at 3 a.m. and he's nowhere to be found. That's problematic.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, where is the balance? Because here's the worst thing you could try to do. Like me, for example, I don't drink alcohol at all, ever. I don't go to the club at all, ever. But that's my nature. So you'd be able to track that over time. So if I
Mhm.
were to suddenly display those behaviors, you have the right to be shocked. You have the right to say, don't do that. It will make sense. I might be going through a crisis. But if you've known him to like to go out, your situation now is not one of, hey, you need to stop that. It's of, well, how do we manage it and how do we put it within reasonable bounds? So what has the conversation been around that?
So we spoke about that because usually when he go out, he's very like irresponsible. Like just as far as with the time, or he'll get into a car accident or something like that. Yeah,
This boy
he's
living like he ain't got nothing to live for.
exactly. So that'd be a big issue. Like I have set him down multiple times. Like every time you come in, it's like we have to pay more money, or it's going to be a repercussion where all of us have to pay. Like where we have to constantly replace cars, or the kids waking up in the morning, you're not here. Like
Mhm.
you bring so much attention and you bring so much chaos. And I was asking like, how do we stop the chaos? Like you making the house like just a house. It's not a home.
Mm. Now, let me tell you something real. And every time women come to me, and a lot of women come to me many times as the girlfriends, the fiancés, the wives of the members. And I always try to preserve families. I always try to be encouraging and supporting and tell these women what I would hope my brother or my father would tell my lady. But one thing I want to say that he might not like to hear, but it's a fact, is that you all might want to think a couple times before you make this house purchase, not because it's a commitment, but
Mm-hmm.
because it does not seem as though your family structure is intact enough to embrace the greatest purchase that you all will make in your lifetime. And the kind of things you're describing are reminiscent of like Paris Hilton, except she's a rich white debutante or socialite who can, crash a car and go buy another one. And he's not. He's like a black guy with 3 kids, right? And a wife who still works. So you need to have a greater level of morality and responsibility the lower your income is. The lower your income is, the more
Mm-hmm.
responsible you need to be. Not to say that if you're wealthy, you get to behave like Robert Downey Jr. But the fact of the matter is, the things that you described are extraordinarily concerning. And if I were you, I would want to experience a couple years of stability before I said I want to get into a 30-year financial commitment. Because when you have children, you might at some point need credit. I always advise people against credit, but you might need it at some point, whether it's for medical issues, for university expenses, or what have you, or they want to go take a trip to play a volleyball game. They're on a club team, whatever the case is. So, based on what I'm hearing, you guys are extremely far away from the level of like collectively spiritual, mental, financial stability to take on something like this, because this is going to add stress. There's just undeniable. It's going to add stress. And here's another thing, both for you as a female and him as well. When you get locked into that kind of 30-year financial commitment and you got a house, you're also going in with expectations. You're expecting it to all of a sudden be more like a family. You're expecting the house to be filled with love and be a home, but changing that physical space might not necessarily equal that. And that level of disappointment, the dissonance, which is to say the gap between what you want and what you actually got with your big purchase, that might piss you off.
So this would be his first home purchase. This would be my second.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of explained that to him too. Like, something got to give. Like you have to kind of mature a little bit. Like, and I think that's what like he got a lot of people that's around him that's not very like level headed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he kind of follow the crowd. I'm not gonna say he's a follower. Like he's just like he's just comfortable in his habitat.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
This is what he always known, and it's like so. I'm guessing new things just scare him.
Listen, males, we are special characters. I mean, there's times my old lady has to be like, bruh, you're doing too much. You doing too much. So we all get like that. However, there's some language that you use that's very indicative of the nature of the relationship. For example, when you say, I had to sit him down. Well, sometimes I sit people down, but it's usually young men that I'm mentoring. It might be a child, my little cousin, my little brother. I sit them down. And it seems as though, and we can't rewind time, and you're in a situation that you may very well be in for the rest of your life. But frankly, it sounds as though you're the stable person in the relationship. You're the level-headed one. You're the rational one. You're the reliable one. You're the more experienced one. And that you may have made some level of error in mate selection, and females often do. And for various reasons, they'll intentionally, like subconsciously, pick the wrong mate, which is to say someone who might not be able to lead them, might not be as intelligent, might not be as experienced, might not be as mature, might not be as strong-willed or strong-willed enough to lead them. And for example, when you have a situation wherein it's his first house, but it's your second house, well, you've already outpaced him. If you're sitting him down to give him guidance, you're the moral leader. And the man is supposed to be the moral leader. And so what is your take on that part?
Um, I don't really know, because I try not to be the leader at all, in no way, shape, form, or fashion, unless it's like got something to do with the home. So it's like he's financially stable, as far as like he got a good paying job. He has his own little business. Sorry for that little. He has his own
Sure.
business,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just that when it comes to financials, he pays the bills on time. He take care of the kids. Like everything is copacetic with him paying things. It's just
Mm-hmm.
the I want to go out. It's the responsibilities. Like I want to go out. 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 Even like during this process of buying this home, I'm like, we can't spend money. Like we gotta, save everything we got just off the strength. You never know. Prices going up, inflation. It's horrible right now on the market, and it's like he still want to go out. It's like there's no
Listen,
rationing with that.
you're both right and you're both wrong. I don't know if I've ever said that to anybody. You're both right and you're both wrong. I'll tell you where you're both right. You're right to tell him to be thrifty. Hey, we're trying to achieve a big goal right now. You need to, manage the finances, be a better steward of our money right now. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to go out. He's right. He has every right to blow off some steam. He has every right to be himself. 3 Sins Bible, be yourself, be good to yourself, be good to good people. Being himself. He's a guy who likes to go out. I don't like to go out. That's who I am. He does like to go out. That's who he is. Be good to yourself. Well, there's certain things you have to do for yourself to make you feel like you. There's some people, they feel like they're going to self-destruct if they don't go out. They got to be around some music and some movement and some action.
That's
That's
him.
their wiring.
That's him. Like
That's him.
that's literally him.
Right. And that's his wiring. And what that ensures is that that's not going to go anywhere. And just like me, my old lady said, Marquette, why do you have to have another woman? Because I've always had another woman. Like that's since I was a child, I've always had another woman. And I think it's in my blood. I'm an African. Like that's how we are. And that's how our nobility has always lived. I'm living like the
Like two
pharaohs.
women. You like have two women that you involved with.
I would have two wives. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if I deal with a woman, it is for the purpose of bringing her into my family. It's not, I don't have like a monstrous sexual appetite or anything like that. It's a responsible thing. But she's like, well, why don't you just have one woman? I'm like, because that's not me. That's not my wiring. That might
Right.
be these other balls. You're going to have to go get one because I'm not going to change. And he's not going to change. So when I say you're both right, you're right. You do need to be financially responsible. He's right. He does need to go out to feel happy, to feel like himself. But you're both wrong. You're wrong because here's the truth. And I want everyone to pay attention to this. When you make a purchase, there are things that you can buy and there are things that you can afford. And the difference, and nobody likes to hear this, and I've told this to my mother a billion times, but the things that you can buy are not always things that you can afford, which is to say that if you have to save everything and be very miserly or parsimonious, then you might not be able to afford what you're about to buy. And what would happen is if you have to like really cut the, get razor thin on your spending right now to get the house, well, that's mostly not going to change. Of course, right now you'll need a little bit more money for the down payment, but then maybe you have higher monthly payments because maybe insufficiency in credit, or there's high interest rates right now and the economy is not very good. And Kamala Harris mess around, get elected, the economy is going to stay bad. So you might continue to be strapped with that mortgage and it's going to add on stress. And you guys are going to have to behave in a way that is not typical, which is not comfortable. So you're right. You're right. You should want to have greater things. And you do need to be more thrifty as you're pursuing greater things. You're right. You're wrong in that that's not going to go anywhere right now based on both of your incomes. If you're like having a bit of a struggle for the down payment and like you need to like be razor thin with your finances to maintain and get there, that's not going to go away unless you guys both have significant bumps in income, which is improbable. So in as much as that's the case, and he mess around, do something irresponsible, get into a car accident, got to pay an insurance deductible, like now you're really on the edge, and that's going to cause you to bicker at him. Hey, be careful. We can't buy this. Hey, you can't go to the club. Hey, did you buy a bottle? Hey, why you got a section? Hey, did you take some girl out? It's just going to add on problems. So you're wrong in that. Now, he's right. As I said, he wants to go out. Great. He's wrong in the way he's doing it. Yeah, you can go out. If that's who he's always been, he's not doing anything new. Yeah, you maybe need to limit the number of times you go out. You need to come home at a reasonable hour. You need to figure out what actually matters to your old lady. Is it you answering the phone when you're out, or is it you coming back, before 3 a.m., which is more important? And by the way, you're not going to get everything. You're not about to turn him into a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon. So you have to figure out which of the things matter. But here's another thing that I hope all the ladies knock out or knock it off. Number one, the cell phone is not there for you to become God, which is to say have an all-seeing eye and be all-knowing so that you can reach out and like figure out what's going on with him. He's the protector, not you. You don't monitor him. You don't need to monitor him. Here's another thing. I have women that I completely trust, but I still keep things private. One, because you're on a need-to-know basis. Mostly you don't need to know anything. I'm running things. That's number one. Number two, information enables. Sometimes you get information, it enables you to have a bad attitude instead of do something productive. And most of that information you're not going to do anything useful with. So why do you have his passwords to his social media?
Trust. I don't trust nothing he say.
You don't trust him?
No.
Well, let me give you an idea.
No.
You do trust him. You just trust him not to do the right thing. You trust him to, you trust him to do bad things or to betray you or to lie to you. That's what you trust him to do. You do trust him. So now that we know that, I trust him to lie. I trust him to do bad things. I trust him to not come home on time. Can we get comfortable with that? If that's who he is, can we get comfortable with that instead of hoping it's going to change?
No, that would be just that would be like, I can't get comfortable with that.
And I appreciate you being real. And things will get realer. And here's the thing. There's a young lady who told me, she said, Marquette, you just got too many women, whether it's a woman that you say you're preparing to bring into your family, or it's just women around you in the entertainment business, or it's women who are interested in you, or whatever the case is, just too many women. You got to move some out. And I said, no, I think I'm going to just carry on as is. She was like, no, really? Like, she was like, I go or they go. I was like, see, it's not them. I was like, those are not women. I was like, that is an expression of me and how I live and have always lived. So that would be me not being myself, which I cannot do for anyone. I'll never love you enough to not love me. Like, I'll never love you so much that I don't love me. And I like who I am. I'm going to be myself. So anyway, so she leaves the relationship and it was on good terms. And then she would always complain and nag about not being in the relationship, right? They send those text messages, oh, well, what if? And I was here and I thought about you. And then I said, hey, think about all the things you didn't like when you were in the relationship. Do you feel better now? So I want you to ask yourself this, and you might need to write it out in a journal, which is to say, if you get out of this marriage or this relationship, which is essentially a marriage, by the way, but if you get out of this relationship, And however things are likely to split up, meaning maybe you live independently with your kids, and mind you, you won't be able to get the house at that point because your income will be like fractionalized, right? It'll be maybe cut in half or cut by 40% or 60. I don't know what the breakdown is, but you won't have that house. You'll have some accommodations, condo, apartment, townhouse, or you rent a house, whatever the case is. You'll have your 3 kids. He won't be there. So the times he came home late, he won't be coming home late, but he also won't be coming home at all. Maybe you'll find another man. Maybe you won't. You'll surely be able to find someone to lay down with you. You're an attractive young lady. So if you can take yourself on a thought journey and ask, will I be happier not putting up with his lies, not wondering where he's at, not getting my calls missed, not knowing that he's cheating? Will I be happier without all those things and without him?
Sometimes, yeah, I feel like I would. Sometimes I feel like I would. I feel like I can sustain without him sometimes. And I speak to him about that, like that don't make me feel good because it's like I love you and I care about you and I want to be with you. But I also want to feel like I'm protected emotionally, physically, financially, and mentally. And when things just so rocky, it just seemed like it's not. Like I just asked him a question, like, because tend to like when we have arguments or we just just off the deep end, it's like he'll go like, oh, I'm gonna start inboxing people, I'm gonna start doing like he just started being extra friendly, and it's just like,
Wait, he
and I asked
tells you
him,
he's going to do that, or he
no,
starts
he don't
doing that?
tell me, don't tell me. He just started doing it. I just know his behavior. I know the way he's gonna start acting.
You know it because you're monitoring his social media?
No, I know it because I know him.
Okay.
And then I know when he's like lying. I just like,
Mm-hmm.
you're lying. But I asked him like, what makes you not content when we're not good? Like what makes you just like, just all over the place? And then I asked him like if we were in love right now, deeply crazy in love with each other, like at the beginning, would you be happy? Would you want to be content? Would you still like, give it your all? And he's like, yeah. I was like, and see, that's the problem between me and you. Like, because I'm willing to be with
Why you
you
set that
when,
man up like that?
cause,
That's cold blooded.
like, cause if, like I was telling him, like, I'm willing to be with you when it's not okay, when everything isn't okay. Like, I want to figure it out. Like, I'm at work or I'm at home and I'm trying to figure it out. Like, but you gonna make matters worse.
Mm.
And so, yeah.
We have much to address here, but first, I just want to kind of take a peek down the horizon, which is to say, what's his age?
We're both 29.
You're both 29. Okay.
Mm,
So you're both 29. You have 3 children. And congratulations on having a family. That's a beautiful thing.
thank
So
you.
you're 29. And if you were to get out of the relationship, is your idea that you don't plan on getting back into a relationship for the rest of your life, or you would hope to get back in
No,
again?
I'll move on.
So your plan would be to get with another man, marry him, buy a house, and then live happily ever after?
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, I don't know if happy ever after exists, but
take a shot at it.
I'll I'll be content with someone else.
Okay. And would you want this other man to have no kids or to have kids, or what are the requirements on this other guy?
He can have kids or no kids.
Mhm. You ever saw that show, The Brady Bunch?
Hmm.
Okay, so if he has like say 4 kids, you got 3 kids, and for some strange reason he has custody of his kids, they live with him. You just move your kids all in together in the same house.
No, not right away.
Not
Not
not right
like,
away. No, I'm just saying like
yeah.
eventually that's the plan.
Eventually, if like we're going steady and things are going good, then yeah.
Okay,
But
fair
I
enough.
still keep my own house
First,
because
wait,
sometimes kids don't get along and things get awkward.
wait, what? What do you
Like
mean keep your own
I'll still
house?
keep my own house. Just like,
So you're saying you would potentially marry another guy who has kids, and then you guys would live in 2 separate houses?
oh no, if we get, I thought you were saying like if we get like just in a steady relationship and
No,
we
we're
decide
just
to go
trying we're
into
trying to
something.
look down to the end that you're seeking.
Oh, then yeah, yeah, I'll move in and sell my other house.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to see see if you had realistic alternatives, because if you said to me, Marquette, I want to get out of this relationship. I want to find another guy who has no children, and I want to get married and move in together and eventually live happily ever after. And I say, okay, well, that's unlikely,
Mm,
because the guy that you meet, we should assume that at the least, or excuse me, at the most, he'll be your match, right? He'll have a
right.
similar background, which is been in a long-term relationship, he's divorced, probably has kids, he's similar in age or maybe a little bit older. It's not going to be a guy who's your age, has no kids, has a high income, and has every opportunity in the world, right? It's going to be someone like more similar in background, right? And it seems
Mm.
as though that's a prospect that you're willing to deal with. Someone who has kids, who's similar in age, maybe a little bit older, will be the oldest guy you'd consider being with.
Right now, with me being 29, probably like 34.
Okay, I think you're probably gonna have to get a little bit more realistic
Mm-mm.
on that
34
one.
is 34 is not that bad. Five
Yeah,
years.
34 is
35,
quite
that's
young.
next.
You said what?
But I said 35, but
Well, see, I think you're gonna have to get out of that girl math, because in man math, if a man is 29 and a woman is 29, like you realize those are not the same ages.
why they're not?
Right, exactly. So, for example, if a woman my age, I consider her like almost dying. I consider her like almost dead,
Okay.
right? For a
Mm,
variety of reasons. One, for the fact of her actual biology and the appearance that it comes with, my age in a woman. I'm like, whoa, you're
mm,
almost dead. Like, whoa, was that a wrinkle on your face? Whoa, stop it. That's
right.
number one. Then number two, at my age, they should have already had kids. And if they didn't, I feel like it's a bit late. Like at 29, for example, you probably should start winding down on having kids. And you certainly shouldn't
Mm,
be having your first kid at 29. So for a man, they're looking to younger women. So, and I have another video that talks about Leonardo DiCaprio, for example. He only dates women under age 25. And I don't know what age bro is, but he nowhere near 25. Similarly, I'm not 25 and I only take women who are 25 and younger seriously.
mm,
Right. So if that's the case and you're only willing to go up to 34, number one, that's a bit of immaturity. And I often speak of clinical immaturity. And number two, you're probably focused on the wrong things. Like maybe you want your guy to be young and athletic and all this other stuff, but your greater priorities that you described to me didn't have anything to do with that. In fact, maybe a guy who's a little bit older would be less likely to be going out, less likely to be ultra friendly, less likely to even be on social media. But it seems like you might be scared of that guy. And as I had said earlier with the mate selection, women who end up in your position to where you got to sit the guy down, you got to coach him, you got to like mother him and tell him to be good and behave himself. And then he's going out doing things that are irresponsible, whether it's drinking like a young white college fraternity gentleman or getting into car accidents like Paris Hilton, and doing like this kind of goofy behavior. That's a mate selection issue. That's you picking a guy who has irresponsible, erratic behavior. Not saying he's a bad person, just some people are like that, you know?
right.
Like there's a young lady on the podcast a couple of days ago, and I was like, "Are you Slizzard?" She was like, "No." I was like, "You have a personality that's like the way people become when there's lizard, like that's your regular personality, which is just say some people are just a little bit unhinged. And it just is what it is. And the question is like that particular form of crazy, can you deal with it? But, anyways, my recommendation to you and all women is you need to, at the minimum, be looking 10 years up. At the minimum. Like that's a minimum. So if you're
Yeah.
20, you absolutely should be willing to date a guy who's 30 if you're serious, meaning if you're serious about family and marriage. If you're just looking to get piped down, well, then what does the age matter?
Right.
So
Um,
you